It's been a little bit, maybe like 2 weeks. So I wanted to give you an update. Things have been going well. I don't want to shift the focus of everything I talk about to be about my daughter, but it's a big part of what's going on in my life. So, um, she's making progress. She's making progress, and it's kind of one of those one day at a time type of things. And I've been learning things. So, there are a lot of behaviors that I don't think I realized my children were watching. And if you're new, I have 5 daughters. So, um, they range from, let's see, one will be 27 this year, and the youngest will actually be 17 next month. So there's a 10-year span between the girls. And the older ones didn't really see me struggle with weight at all. And I think what I modeled for the younger ones was a lot of unhealthy behaviors. So this is why lately, when I do make videos, I am so big on your children are watching. And that's why. And I'm not like taking sole blame for what the disordered eating that I've seen kind of with the younger ones, but I didn't help. And then you throw social media on top of that with these unrealistic expectations. And just think about it. I remember on Facebook and Instagram, now I'm probably on my third or fourth account because there have been different times where I've just shut it down and been like, I'm not interested in it. So I remember watching it like in real time, and really mainly with women in my age group, 40s and their 30s, seeing these heavily filtered pictures or people contorting their bodies in ways to make it look like they're slimmer than they really are. And this has been going on for a while. So you think if we as adults were doing things, and maybe you're not one that was doing that, but if you're on those sites, I'm sure you've seen it. And then you see someone in real life and you're just like, that's a huge difference. I never wanted to be someone that did that stuff. So I didn't. I didn't judge the people that were doing it. But what we were not all paying attention to is there are younger people watching this. And you think of the different influencers and people, you know, pushing these unrealistic expectations. So, for example, I don't think that any celebrity or people who are influencers, I don't think they owe anyone an explanation except for when you're pushing a product. If I'm trying to get you to buy something or I'm trying to get you to do my program and I know that I don't really look like what I'm presenting, that is disingenuous. And I do have an issue with that. If I know that I went and got plastic surgery, again, no shade to people who make those choices, but you owe it to the people you are trying to influence to buy something to be honest about that. And I feel like there's just, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. And then we're flooded and we want to blame social media, but then we have to look at who are the people that you're following? You know what I mean? Have you ever followed someone and you felt insecure or less than because you felt like they were getting something, like they're doing these things and you're trying to do them, but it's not working for you? It's because they're not doing that either. And I'm not saying that it's not possible to lose weight and your stomach looks, perfect, not a stretch mark in sight, because I do realize there are people who genetically, we can call that the genetic lottery, but I guess I don't even know why we say things like that, because for those of us who don't have those genetics, it can make you feel like you're not doing enough. And I want you to know you're doing enough, okay? If you're not losing weight at this super fast rate, that's okay. That's okay, because it's not always realistic, especially when you're going about things in a healthy way. So when I first started my journey, which is we're nearing that 2-year anniversary, I was eating a lot less than I had been prior to starting on Zepbound. Now, I wasn't down in the 800 and 900 calorie range that I see some people go in, and even lower, but it was significantly lower than it was before I started. So things were moving pretty quickly for me in the beginning. I also switched from eating a whole lot of ultra processed foods to eating primarily a whole food plant-based diet. Now, I know that we have division about that. Some people feel like it's unrealistic. If it's unrealistic for you, that's okay. It wasn't unrealistic for me, and I'm still doing it almost 2 years later. So that's kind of like another reason why I'm a big proponent of let people do what they're going to do. I'm not going to judge you. Don't judge me. Okay. Switching to whole food plant-based primarily. Now, it's not that every single thing I eat is coming straight in its regular form out of the ground. That is not true. I do things like, for example, the asparagus that I like to eat, that's packaged. It already has seasonings on it. I throw it in the air fryer. So I'm not even, going off the shelf and getting, asparagus in its natural form and doing stuff to it. My point is this: I am in no way consuming the amount of ultra processed foods that I used to eat in the past. And so that works for me. I would imagine that a lot of us had some form, not everybody, but a lot of us had some form of disordered eating. And it doesn't look the same for everybody. And something I want to take a quick moment to talk about is a binge eating disorder. Binge eating disorder is not occasionally overeating, or on the holidays, you want to try everything, so you're eating a little more. It is more than that. And I'm going to put something up. I try not to heavily edit videos anymore. I just kind of want to talk, but I want you to understand the difference. And I want you to know that I had an official diagnosis. I went and I was seeing a therapist. I was on Vyvanse at one point because that's FDA approved for binge eating disorder. And you know what? It worked for a while, but I didn't change the things that I was eating. So when you're on a medication that is to help reduce your appetite and you're eating foods that are designed to make you want to eat more, you're going to be in this constant struggle. And even though I was learning these things, it still didn't fully register. So when I started my Zepbound journey almost 2 years ago, I wanted to do things differently. And when I saw that I was losing weight, because I was initially weighing myself every day. Now, I wanted to approach this from the aspect of I want to be healthier. And, I'd gotten to a point where I think there's a 14-year time frame where I was gaining and losing. Then I would gain more and lose and gain more until I got up to 216 pounds. Now, if that's what you weigh now or more than that, this is, as much as I hate the phrase, it is what it is, it really is. If you've spent the majority of your life in the upper 1 teens and the 120s, then you would understand that I was nearly 100 pounds over my comfortable weight, a weight that I had been, the majority of my life. I'd have kids, I'd gain some weight, but then it would drop back off. So anyway, I don't want to put too much focus on that. I was in a very unhealthy state. My labs were terrible. My cholesterol was high. I was in that pre-diabetic range. There had been a period of time where I was on metformin. I had thyroid issues. I was on Synthroid for a while. So the way that I was not taking care of my body had a profound effect on everything. And my mental health. I am also someone who has bipolar 1 disorder. And since I've been on Zepbound, I have not been on any medication for that. Now, am I telling you to go out there if you're on medications and stop? Absolutely not. I was under the direction of my psychiatrist, and I did visit with her, and this was in 2024 is the last time I visited with her. And she had said, this is the best that she has seen me in years. Now, mind you, I started being treated by her in, I want to say it was 2014. So she's seen a lot. And this was the best that she had seen me. And I think that it had a lot to do with the way that I was eating. And I don't think it's necessarily the cure-all for everything, but in my case, it worked for me. Now, I have seen some people say that, they're having mood issues and struggling with depression. That just wasn't the case for me. So that's why I say that this is not a one size fits all. You know, our experiences are going to be so different. And that's why what you hear from me and other people sharing, take it with a grain of salt. Because again, we all know this, right? Everything's not going to be the same. But sometimes I feel like I need to say it because there's a lot of comparison and it's being done in a way that makes somebody feel like they're not doing enough. Um, if it's not feasible for you to completely cut out ultra processed foods, that's okay. But just do a reduction. Maybe you start off with replacing one meal a week with something that is not ultra processed. And then maybe eventually you graduate to a day. Anything that you can do is better than nothing at all. And if you watch anybody that is creating content, and again, I don't ever call names out because, who am I to do that? People are really, really struggling. There are a lot of people who want to continue to eat the same way, and they're struggling. Does this mean that if they completely cut it out, they won't struggle? I don't know, but I can go based off of my experience. When I was on Wegovy for a short time in 2023, I was still eating trash. And when I came off of it, I gained a bunch of weight because those cravings came back with a vengeance. This medication for me, Zepbound, is doing more than just the food noise stuff. We know that it does other things, and this is not a video for that, but there are a lot of people creating content on the benefits other than food noise because not everybody experiences food noise or not everybody had that issue before getting on a GLP-1 medication. So that's something like you're right, like, what are you talking about? Um, your experience is going to be different. And you have to make some lifestyle changes. You don't have to go and strength train if you don't want to, but it is good for you. Finding some way of, resistance training. You could do yoga. There are lots of different ways. There's no way where you can be like, well, I'm doing this, so I'm superior to these people. Not at all. There are people who are successful on this medication and they're not strength training. So it just depends on what your goals are. Okay. And then as we get older, things are a little more difficult than if we were doing this in our 20s and 30s. So that's another component. There's a hormonal component, right? For those of us that are perimenopausal, going through menopause, or postmenopausal, there's a hormonal component. So if you're experiencing those things, reach out to your doctor about that and see if you're a good candidate for hormone replacement therapy. And if you're seeing a doctor that doesn't believe in that, then it's worth it to have a second opinion if you're able to do that. But I know that for me, that was something that has also had a profound effect on how I'm feeling, beyond just the night sweats and the brain fog. Now, I've been under an extreme amount of stress, and we know that, or at least it's said that being under stress can raise your cortisol levels. But when I had a DEXA scan done, my visceral fat went down tremendously. So I am not, and even based off of how my clothes are fitting, I have not found myself accumulating a lot of body fat in my abdominal area, which is something that I struggled with before. But again, my diet didn't really align with my goals. So, diet as in the way that I eat, not a special diet. And then we have to realize something else I noticed, this protein push. If we look historically, companies are going based off of what's trending at that time, right? I know you can remember a time where it was all about low fat. Then there was a time where it was keto. So you had all these different products that were pushing that. Now it's protein. I mean, when we get to where we're putting protein in popcorn or toothpaste, we've kind of gone a little too far. So I think that we know I'm not a doctor, but I just want you to realize a lot of this stuff is basically marketing to you. So when we realize that, we need to take a step back and figure out what works for me. So I have found a way of living that works for me, and it's so important for you to do that. Whether you're someone who plans on being on for the rest of your life, because that's who I am, this, again, is doing more than just the food noise, although that is significant because I experienced that even when I was a little girl. Um, so whether you're someone who experienced that or not, focus on what this is doing for you, right? More so than the number on the scale. Now, I'm not going to be stupid and be unrealistic and tell you don't think about it at all, because a lot of us have gotten on these meds, not only for health reasons, but also to lose weight. So I know that that is something that's going to be on your mind. But what I'm asking you to do is not make that your sole focus, right? Don't look at if you've gone a week or however often you're weighing yourself and you haven't lost the amount of weight you think you should have, looking at it as a fail. This is why we say it's so important to focus on other things like how you feel and maybe some things that you couldn't do so well before that you can do now, because it's all about your quality of life. And I imagine that it's more about that than this magic number that you have in your mind, right? There's a reason you think that you're going to feel a certain way when you get to this weight. And that's what you focus on. Don't focus on the weight itself. But if your goal is to be able to, you know, walk more or, be able to be more active, a magic number is not going to do that for you, right? I'm able to go up and down the stairs as many times as I need to without feeling like I'm about to pass out. Let me show you. I'm not using this um, multiple times a day. It's kind of seasonal, or it depends on the environment that I'm in. But there was a time where I had to be on that plus an emergency inhaler. So just to do some basic functioning. So that's a win for me. I was diagnosed with obstructive sleep apnea, and I had a CPAP. I did not use that regularly because it just it wasn't comfortable for me. But I don't feel the need to do that. And something about sleep apnea, it's not just about snoring. You're not breathing. You stop breathing. And so when I would sleep, I could sleep for 10 hours and wake up and feel exhausted. And it's because I wasn't staying in that deep part of sleep long enough. So I feel like I am talking a lot. And these are just thoughts that are in my head. When I pushed record, I didn't have like a special message that I wanted to give you. I will do a video later on in the week. Today is Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. I will do a video for like a 2-year anniversary where I'll go through things that I think you'd be interested in, especially if you're new to your journey or you've been on for a while. Letting you know, okay, this is how it started. This is the trajectory of the weight, and then it equaled out. Now, the lowest weight that I've been, I will tell you this on this medication, is 125, and I'm sitting comfortably at 130. When I started, I was 183 pounds, and my highest weight was 216 pounds. So that's that's the story about that. And I don't have a focus on that. I kind of became obsessive about body composition, and that is also something that I'm not, I can't say I don't care. It's just not my sole focus with everything else going on. I'm just maintaining. So I've been in maintenance since July of 2024. And yeah. So I'll get more into that. Like I'll have a focus on those things in the next video. But I just wanted to check in, and yeah, there's so much going on in the world that it kind of feels a bit insignificant to get on here and talk about certain things with the things that are going on in the world and the things going on, with my daughter. I don't have that like motivation to strictly talk about weight and things like that, but I will make that update video and kind of go through that process. So if you're feeling like blah or maybe discouraged or disappointed, just try to focus on things that are going well, improvements. If you're getting labs regularly, which I think people should be getting those regularly, focusing on those. Are those getting better? If you are diabetic, focusing on, is your A1C going down? And if not, obviously you'll be working with your doctor to figure out, what you should be doing or shouldn't be doing to improve that. If you're someone that has been diagnosed with obstructive sleep apnea, are your pressures getting lower? Are you, do you foresee coming off of being, needing to use that? Those are, other factors. If you struggled to, movement, again, going up a flight of stairs, getting in and out of your car, things like that, is that improving? Let's focus less on um, the cosmetics, right? Like how you look and all of that. And let's kind of focus more on how we feel because, again, a lot of what's on social media is not real. Is not real. And just to kind of finish this up, when I had an interview with a downsizing diva, she had mentioned how I was used to come on and I would give myself an injection. If you go and look at my Instagram, you'll see, me working out with a sports bra and, shorts or pants. And the reason I do that, I, it's not that I'm proud, but I'm not ashamed. This is how my body looks. Okay. I've had 5 amazing daughters. And then I went through gaining and losing weight, stretching and losing and stretching and losing. And I'm not younger. And the genetics that I have don't give me this super flat and taut, I believe that's the word, stomach. But I couldn't see myself filtering it or editing it. This is just what I look like. So I'll leave you with this. Focus on how you feel and learn to love yourself at all of the stages. I think that's what body positivity was really supposed to be, and then it got hijacked. Love yourself in all the stages. It's okay to want more. It's okay to want to get healthy. It's okay to want your body to change, but focus on loving yourself, and then you'll love yourself through the process. Because one thing I can tell you is when you get to that magic number, you're not going to magically love your body. And then you get into all these other things that come along with that. So that is all I have for you. I want to leave you with, we can share our journeys, but we should never compare them. Bye.